The tape, it never lies. And the tape showed that Alabama's offensive woes is not all on Ty Simpson's shoulders.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He's the director of scouting with the Draft Network in 2019, national champion with the LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Just watch the tape Wednesday, and Ty Simpson got a lot of blame for their loss in the SEC championship, but did the tape agree with those takes? I don't think they will, but Sonny Styles had an elite performance versus Indiana, and I think he should be a first-round pick. We're going to see if Keith feels the same. And D'Angelo Ponds faced off against Jeremiah Smith. We're going to tell you how that matchup panned out on film. But before we get into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Ty Simpson, Keith, a guy that, we both said, hey, he lost some money. And it wasn't just the SEC championship game. It's been the last month or so, just the way he's played. But, I mean, I feel like you would agree with you. Correct me if I'm wrong. Watching the tape back of the SEC championship game, Alabama's offense is a full-blown mess, and it's not just a Ty Simpson problem. Like, there's a lot of things that's not going well for Alabama. The run game is not there without Jam Miller. And even when Jam was playing, it was inconsistent. The offensive line struggling to pick up stunts and twists and simulated pressures, and then the receivers not getting open, right? Like the lack of protection. Those things I saw, and one thing I definitely saw, and I've seen it ever since kind of that Oklahoma game. He's been sped up, Keith. He's playing faster than he should, and it's because of the fact that he's been pressured so much the last couple weeks. Outside of that, Eastern Illinois game, he wasn't pressured like that or whatever. But Auburn hit him a lot, right? Oklahoma hit him a lot. Like, he had turnovers against Oklahoma, and then Georgia, they were sending. Kirby Smart was in his bag. I got to give Kirby Smart his love. Kirby Smart was in his bag in terms of how he was designing their coverages, switching the pitcher and different things like that post-snap. It wasn't all on Ty Simpson, Keith. Not in my opinion. Not watching the film.
Yeah, no, I thought the blame could be passed around, and then it was a collection of things that could go wrong. And DP, and I go back to the sentiment once again. I was called the Jalen Milroe guy that just was blindly filing Jalen Milroe. These were the things I seen last year, right? Like, and you have to understand when it comes down to protection, and people are like, oh man, protection, he can't handle the blitz. That's a two-sided thing, right? From a coaching perspective, because if I'm game planning and scheming, yeah, okay, cool. I see that the quarterback isn't good under pressure. But the other side of that is this: if there's certain simulated pressures or blitzes or twists and stunts that the offensive line can't pick up, or they fail to, or they're not good at doing it, then that's another issue too that isn't fully Ty Simpson, right? We have to understand that offensive line coaches watch the film too, right? Or defensive coordinators watch the film, like, oh man, they really struggle with double A gap blitz. They struggle with a green dog blitz, or they struggle with just different things, and they'll continue to do those things. So I agree with you, and I go back to this wide receiver conversation that there's a lot of issues with this wide receiver core, and I keep saying Jeremy Bernard, good football player, right? Yeah. But I'll probably take him in the third round, right? And somewhere in there, third through fifth round, and that's how I feel about it. And then, like you said, we go into the freshman phenom, but then this year kind of took a step back. Ryan Williams, right? And then you look at the rest of this core, like who's the running back that's going to go in the first or second round in this?
They don't have one.
Right. What's the tight end that's going to go as a top 100 pick, right? So there was multiple issues, but watching Ty, I do think this. Where would I place some blame him, since this evaluation, is about him? I think he did miss some throws early. And I think what's happening is that now, after feeling the pressure, right, over the past few weeks, right, and I'm talking about in-game pressure and then also probably pressure from the outside, it can speed your process up. But then also with the football, instead of throwing it, you're aiming it, right?
Yeah.
And I think there was one throw across the middle that led to an interception, I believe. I can't remember. It was on third down. I can't remember if it led to I think it was. I think Dalen Everett intercepted it. And it was slightly behind the tight end or the wide receiver in the middle of the field, right? And then there was another one, I believe, was on fourth down. It was fourth and short. It was either third down or fourth and short. And it was the running back out of the backfield, and he left this short, right? And when you leave a ball short like that, that's because you're trying to aim it, and meaning that you're not throwing it with confidence to just let it go and let it loose, and you're still kind of pulling a string on it. And that's when you end up late how he was, and that's when you end up throwing the ball into the ground, because you're still trying to pull a string and hold on to the football as long as possible, because you're trying to place it there and not just throwing the football and letting it rip. So I didn't think Ty Simpson, in my opinion, looked comfortable in his game until the fourth quarter, in my opinion.
Agreed.
That's when he looked comfortable and he started letting the ball rip and just putting the ball in different spots. And he was like, okay, this is a Ty Simpson. But to get to the fourth quarter and everything else kind of compiled, it was a big it was a big combination of everybody messing up, to be completely
100%.
I watched that game and I was like, you know what? They were out schemed, they were out coached, they were outplayed, they were out hustled, they were out, right? It was reminiscent, DP, of, and I think you said this earlier in the week or late last week. It was reminiscent of the Florida State game, right? Where like Georgia came out with their hair on fire, and Alabama came out like, okay, we should feel good about winning this. And if your team approaches a game like that, then you ask yourself, where does the blame go from that perspective too? Is that a coaching issue? Because they should be ready to play in the SEC championship game.
Yeah, man, like, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, especially about like those throws you talked about with Ty missing them. He was coming off reads early too. He was coming off reads very early, Keith, where it's just like you wanted him to, like, I get it, like because he's so sped up. The fact that he's not trusting and waiting for guys to get open. Like there were some curl routes, some hitch routes. There's like, if you just stay on that read a little longer, you can fire it in there. It's a first down. But he's coming off that read and he's working the middle of the field and he's working the full progression. But if you're turning down reads to work the full progression, you're going to miss the guy that's going to be open. And he did that because he's playing so sped up. But there's a throw, and I put it up on Twitter because I was just kind of tweeting my thoughts the other day while I was watching the film, preparing for the show and everything. They did I think it was a play action, and it was a far hash sideline. I think it was like a stop route or a deep curl or out route, one of the two, to Isaiah Horton. He threw it, Isaiah Horton didn't catch it, right? You rewind the play and you get to that end zone angle of the all 22. You see 56, the left guard, in the rib cage of Ty Simpson, because he's going to go double the edge rusher. And I'm like, 56, he can't throw like that. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you in his hip pocket as he's trying to coil and rip a throw like that? Like, but those are the type of things that go unnoticed when people are watching it live. There was another play where most people probably remember, Ty tried to do a run fake. The running back went to pass block. So Ty's like sitting there in the mesh point, but there's no mesh point. So then he tries to run out to the left. And I think number 33, one of the defensive ends, gets free. And Ty's like, nope, he just slides. He just takes the loss, right? Because he can't outrun him to the corner. And I'm like, there's so many so much non-execution things going on in this offense right now, where even against the pressure, Keith, there's times where Ty calls and makes it the right check at the line of scrimmage. The O-line slides the way they're supposed to. Number 4, I think it's like Daniel something. I think his last name might be Daniel. I don't know. But he's like a freshman running back. He looks like, to be completely honest, he's built like a move tight end. And he's back there, and he picks the wrong guy every time. And I'm just like, what in the world is going on? Like, and it's like that the absence of Jam Miller, it's bad on this team. When Jam is not in there, because he can pass protect, he is a better runner and he's a better athlete than number 4 is. Now you're in a position where you can't run the ball and you're in true drop back set. So I agree. Like, yes, there's blame for those who want to know. Is DP just saying there's no blame on Ty Simpson? No, Ty was sped up. He missed reads. He missed throws. He did not play with any type. He didn't play with enough poise early on. To your point, Keith, fourth quarter, I definitely saw him settle in and start making better throws. The throw to darn Ryan Williams, he fades away. He sees the free runner. He stands. He throws up the moon ball. It's right there, and all you see is Ryan Williams' hands. Looks like a clap on, clap off commercial. Like he's trying to clap the ball, and I'm like, dude, just attack it and catch it. It's a drop. Went straight through his hands. So it's the fact that they got to go up against Brent Venables again. I don't feel too great about that, but we'll talk about that on next week. We'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, no, it should be fun to watch how he responds, right? And we just talked about Darian Mensah, the quarterback for Duke, having to respond and go against Virginia again. I'm interested to see what Ty Simpson does, right? And honestly, I think this upcoming game against Oklahoma in the playoffs, he's probably playing for his first round certification, right? I think that's what probably is going to happen. I think if he plays well, people keep him in the first round. I think if he doesn't play well, I think you're going to start hearing second, third, return back to school conversations. But DP, let's do this, man. Let's talk about a guy that we both believe and agree on that should be a first round pick, Mr. Sonny Styles, the linebacker from Ohio State. Let's get into Sonny Styles' performance against Indiana coming up next.
You know, there's no reason to let Big Wireless drain your wallet, especially during the holidays. Right now, Mint Mobile is running their best deal of the year. All of their unlimited plans are 50% off. That means you can lock in 3, 6, and even 12 months of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. It's the easiest way to take your overpriced phone bill and give it the full Scrooge treatment. Turn your expensive wireless present into a huge wireless savings future by switching to Mint. Shop Mint Unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. Limited time offer. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12 months. Plan required $15 a month equivalent. Taxes and fees, initial plan term only, greater than 35 gigabytes, may slow when network is busy, capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On NFL Draft with no interruptions. Members only, Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonnfldraft.supercast.com. Sonny Styles was an impact player, Keith, versus Indiana. And it like his run defense was elite. If I could, that's the only way I can explain it, man. Like they couldn't block him, the sideline to sideline speed. He was everywhere, stopping the run and stuffing the run. And those running backs, and it's not just the speed, it's the power he plays with. Because there are multiple runs where he met the running back in the alley, and the moment they made contact, that run was over. Like it wasn't any more momentum gathered. They couldn't push him forward or push him back. It wasn't any falling forward. It was him stonewalling it, Keith. And for those who don't know, you know, Sonny Styles, again, we all know everything that we talked about with Arvell Reese. Like he's the bell of the ball for that Ohio State defense right now. But Sonny Styles is 6'5", 245 pounds, Keith, with outstanding athleticism. He is what Isaiah Simmons should have been, to be completely honest. Like, because he's a former safety, converted down. What are some of the things that you saw on film in this game that was highly contested? It was a defensive slugfest. What impressed you about Sonny Styles in this game?
Yeah, I'm continuously impressed by his IQ in the box, right? Talking about from tackle to tackle. And this is a young man. And I always say this in evaluations, and it's the part where a lot of people miss in linebacker evaluations is if he's too slow at safety, put him at linebacker, right? Or if he's too big at safety, put him at linebacker. That doesn't always work, right? And it's because at the position of linebacker, everything happens so quickly, right? You go from reading things as safety, and you may have a second and a half to react to be in place, right? To now as a linebacker, you may have half a second, right? It's a much more sped up IQ process of reading guards and reading your triangle, guard, quarterback, running back, than what people understand. And so I usually dislike the notion of just kicking a safety down in the linebacker and saying he's going to be okay. With that being said, Sonny Styles understands how to play the position of linebacker. He plays it well. He reads guards. He's willing to take on offensive linemen. He's willing to shed offensive linemen. He's willing to play downhill. He's willing to strike running backs in the backfield. Really good blitzer. I think he's a prototype guy that you mug in the A gap and then let him carry and cover two. And he kind of plays that middle of the field defender, but also can carry it to almost make it look like cover three. There's some very unique things that you can do with Sonny Styles as a player. And in the game against Indiana, I think he showcased it all, in my opinion. Sideline to sideline range, being able to cover people, those tight ends and things like that. And it was confusing at first because his teammate, right, Lorenzo Styles, was on a play and was like, wait, what's going on here? And then you have to realize, okay, they got Lorenzo Styles and they have Sonny Styles on the same defense. But yeah, I was impressed with Sonny Styles' performance against Indiana.
Yeah, there were like, because there was times where, and shout out to Fernando Mendoza, man. Like, Matt Patricia said, "Hey, you're athletic enough for me to commit Sonny Styles to being the spy," because there were times that Sonny Styles wasn't guarding anybody. He was keyed in on Fernando. It was like, if you get out of this pocket, I'm hunting you down. And Fernando tried it a couple times, and then he saw zero flashing. It was like, nope, either throw the ball away, and get these 2 yards to get out of bounds, whatever the case may have been. But like, that's a tip of the cap to Fernando Mendoza, how he's used his legs this year to hurt defenses. That Matt Patricia said, I'm gonna take my best linebacker, true linebacker, because I think we both will say this. Arvell Reese is outstanding player. The best linebacker on that team is Sonny Styles. Arvell Reese is more of a true hybrid of playing linebacker and edge. Both of these guys built like action figures. Shout out to Jordan Reed, who tweeted that out months ago. They're built like freaking professional wrestlers in the sense. Like, they both can do different things, but his ability to wear all the different hats that they asked him to wear was just so, it was impressive, Keith, because there was a play. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, and I was gonna say that I still think upside as a pass rusher. I really do. Like, I think there's a lot there. And for everybody who liked, Jahad Campbell last year, right? And the potential upside that there was, I really think they're in the same light, that they can, like, they're both athletic, and Sonny Styles may be longer. He may be a little bit more quick and a little bit more athletic. So I think there's even upside with that. Like, I find Sonny Styles, if we had a top 5 list, right? He's probably he's for sure in my top 5 most intriguing prospects. That I'm like, you know what? If I can pick the scheme, right? If I could pick the coach, I can pick the situation. I would stamp this as this young man can be on a Hall of Fame projection, and I don't say that lightly. I think that how Sonny Styles.
No, I love what he brings. There was a play where he's kind of he's just zone dropper in zone coverage, and the route recognition. I think they had like a deep in cut behind him, and you could see him process it, see it, turn, and then take it away. And I was like, yeah, most linebackers aren't even keying in on that to do it the way he did it. You know what I mean?
That's the safety background. That's the safety
100%. The safety background. And they tried to get him with the running back out the backfield. He shut that down. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I would stay away from him, guys. You know what I mean? Like, he's one of those defenders. Just stay away from him, because you don't have the tight. Like, they try to leave a tight end on him. And I was like, yeah, this ain't going well. Not in the blocking situation like that. This doesn't make sense. Like, this dude can't block Sonny Styles. He couldn't block Arvell Reese either. Like, I was like, yeah, no, I would probably have him kind of like try to chip, like set a screen. Like, I'm not trying to have him all like just man, just gap scheme blocking on either one of those two guys. But watching Sonny Styles, that run defense, the way he shed blocks, the play strength, the contact balance, like the fact of like him just being for a guy that's not like, he wasn't always in the vicinity of the run lane, but by the time the run was over, the play was over, he was the guy making a tackle. Like, he was head up he was meeting the running backs. He follows the ball, and his eyes, and to piggyback off something you said, Isaiah Simmons said this. He was like, going from linebacker to edge. Remember, like maybe year 2 or 3 in Arizona, they walked him down the edge and tried to play him as a full-time edge, and they tried to play him at nickel. He said the closer you get to the action, the quicker it goes. And it was like, you have to process that much faster, got to make quicker reads. Everything has to be quicker. And that goes on to what you said, Keith, like the fact of once you get down there in the box, like, yeah, you got to be a quick processor of information, whether it's diagnosing run versus pass, all those things. And he does, and Sonny Style does those well. I don't know how high he gets drafted, but I would be upset if he's not a top 15 pick. Like, I
Yeah,
would be very.
and in this draft, DP, I would take him top 10. Just looking at this draft in totality, and talking about like pound for pound best prospects. I think as a prospect, right? You're talking about a guy, in prospect in the definition of a college football player projecting to the NFL. I think he's a top 10 player, and
Let me
that's why.
ask you real quick, Keith. Do you,
Mhm.
with his safety background and his size, 6'5", 245, and his athleticism, right? Would you play him some strong safety? Like, get creative with your defensive shells and coverages and looks. Would you drop him off in the strong safety sometimes?
I would. So there's a difference, right? There's the Kyle Hamilton at Notre Dame, right? And
Hmm.
what he did and where he played at. And then there's the Kyle Hamilton for the Baltimore Ravens, right? Which is more of a low hole player. I would be interested to see come combine time, right? And NFL Network I have the tail of the tape, right? Just their measurables, right? Like they're probably very similar measurable wise, and we'll see if Sonny Styles is foot faster, right, in the 40-yard dash than what Kyle Hamilton is. But I would let him do that, right? I would let him play some kind of big nickel type of situation. If we're
Hmm.
running some fire zone, right, I would let him blitz off the edge. Like I think there's a lot to this young man, and he's shown enough, in my opinion, DP, just with the ability to run vertical, right? And that's why you can say if you have some teams, he is a prime candidate to help eliminate the well, he won't eliminate, right? Because he's probably a one of 5 to 10 players that can do this as far as linebacker safety hybrids.
Yeah.
The 12, 13 personnel look, right? We eliminate that advantage because he can take on the tight ends in a run game, right? He's not smaller than the tight ends, but then also he's athletic enough to run with the tight ends too. So
Hmm.
when you face those teams that run a lot of 12, a lot of 13, he can jump in there, DP, and you feel good about whether that's your base defense, your nickel defense, whatever it is, you feel good because you have him in there.
Better keep him away from D'Amico Ryans. That's the only thing I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that defense, they don't need anything else around there. But one of my favorite, honestly, they've put together one of my I don't even know if this is the proper terminology, right? Most favorite defenses that I've witnessed in the past 10, 15 years. I just love the way they fly around and hit all three
Yeah,
levels of the football.
all three of them.
Yep. So let's do this, DP. We went Ty Simpson, we went Sonny Styles. Let's talk about Indiana cornerback D'Angelo Pons, right? And his day matched up with Jeremiah Smith. Let's talk about that coming up next.
NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. And FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. And guys, you can jump into the 2026 NFL draft moment right now because the draft season is getting ready to start. And what you can do is bet on who will be the number one overall pick. And the odds favorite right now is Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit fanduel.com today and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. D'Angelo Pons, Keith, 5'9", 173 pounds, which is a lot different than what you see when you look at Jeremiah Smith, who's like 6'3", 225.
Mhm.
It's a
Mhm.
very much of a size difference. And they're, for those who don't know, they're high school teammates. Like they played the same high schools. They were on the same
I
team
didn't know
together,
that.
Keith.
I
Yeah,
didn't
they are
know
high school teammates, man. And this was a tough matchup for Pons, right? It
I
was a
wonder if this
mixed
was
bag
in
of
Brooklyn
results.
of a high win in high school.
Probably. Probably, So I give, like, from a good stuff I saw from Pons, I saw instincts and coverage. He was not afraid of this matchup. Number one, there's familiarity there. former teammate in high school, stuff like that. I think they asked him they talked about how they asked him pregame, hey, did you guys text before, leading up to this game? He said, absolutely not. I'll talk to him after the game. I have not talked to him before this game. But like the toughness he played with, I think in the red zones where I really saw his coverage ability and his willingness to be physical, right? Like he took away routes consistently in the red zone from Jeremiah Smith because like I said, he knows him. He also played them last year, but he did get beat vertically. He's playing off that speed from Jeremiah Smith dictated the alignment, he dropped off in coverage. He was playing catch technique, tried to get physical at the top of the route, and it didn't go well.
DP, listen, catch that. This is what I was told. Catch technique will get you caught up. Get you caught up. Get you caught off guard. get you caught on. You're like that.
You see it a lot in college, Keith. You see it a lot in college. I don't see it as much in the NFL, but I see it a ton in college.
Well, yeah, I mean, because if you think about it, it puts the corners in a very difficult situation, especially with high level athletes, right? Is that you're usually 7 to 10 yards off the football trying to catch a wide receiver who's running full speed, right? And at that point, I mean, because to me, that Jeremiah Smith, that looked like trying to run catch technique on AJ Brown, right? Good luck with that situation. Like, and just these bigger body wide receivers. Yeah, it was not a great look. I agree with you with D'Angelo Pons that projecting him and grading this film, right? If I had to use this film to project him forward, he's a guy that's gonna be tough, he's gonna be scrappy, he's gonna compete. I would want him in a scheme where I mix some man, but also zone in there, right? Some cover 2, cover 3, different looks, but then also he has to show, and I don't think he did it a lot in this game, the ability to kick inside and play some nickel too, right? Because ideally you wouldn't want a 5'9" corner living on the outside, right? And that's been rare to see that be successful. And I mean, talking about like the Janoris, Jack Rabbit Robinson, right? Remember a few years ago out of Florida, there's just not a lot of 5'9" corners, especially at 173 pounds. The two guys I thought about, DP, were Travis Hodges Tomlinson. Remember a few years ago from TCU? I thought of him, and I think he won the Jim Thorpe Award, I believe.
I think he did.
That year. And then the other young man I thought of was a guy that I'm familiar with. I've been watching him, I mean, since he was in high school. Amik Robertson, who's another undersized corner who's tough, scrappy, will get physical, just they play with enough overall to be able to make plays. But the thing comes down to this, and this is my concern, DP, is he quicker than foot fast? And if you're 5'9", 175 pounds, and you're quicker than what you are just fast, like foot fast vertically running up the field, then I almost have to put you in some type of zone scheme, because you can't be small / undersized and not as fast as everybody else. That combination doesn't work. It won't work to be successful in the NFL. So it was a mixed bags of things. I think if you watch this film and you project Jeremiah Smith to be a number 1 wide receiver in the NFL, and you say, okay, how did this matchup look? Because to me, it wasn't just the deep ball. It was also kind of that back shoulder throw to where it was just obvious that Pons lacked length to be able to really compete with Jeremiah Smith, right?
A lot of stop routes and curl routes he caught him on too.
Yeah, it just looked like he would, and he is, right? And that's why it looked like he was just bigger than him. And it was just an unfortunate, because you even go into DP, let's talk about like the high red zone situations, right? And you have those one-on-ones, you talking about throwing back shoulders. Like, would he be a target for teams, right? Or even if he moves to the slot and you're talking about a potential slot fade situation, will he be able to go up and get vertical? And basically what Elijah Surratt did to Ohio State's corner, could other NFL teams do that to him, running that slot fade out of the number 2 and just hitting the front pylon? So I thought it was a mixed bag of results. I do think D'Angelo Pons is an NFL caliber cornerback. I think you're going to have to be very detailed and specific in what situations you put him. And I think there's going to be a lot pending on his overall testing.
And I saw it because like he gave up those, it's like they conceded those curl and stop routes. Like they were like, hey, we're not trying to let Jeremiah Smith get over the top, right? So like he's side saddling like Bale Tech out a lot with his eyes, from the receiver to the quarterback. But to your point, he might be, especially if he isn't in the nickel, because of that, the lack of length and size and height. Yeah, do I want to put you in a lot of man-to-man? We can mix it up, but do I want to predominantly put you in zone? And I think, you mentioned a couple of corners. I thought about Mike Sanders still. Remember him coming out of Michigan, played wide receiver, converted over to DB, is with the Washington Commanders and everything. I just look at him and like, all right, like he's going to be a good player. I like what you the instincts, the knowledge, everything you bring. He's got, I think his hips are good. His foot quickness is fine. As a corner, he could change directions, stuff like that. I've been watching this tape all season. But in those matchups in the NFL, like I don't know if I want you outside against Chase. You know what I mean? I don't want you outside against AJ Brown. I don't want that for you or for me as the coach, because that's just putting us in some very compromising situations.
Well, yeah, and I want to have a conversation that we had about Jeremy Bernard, and I know we only have a couple minutes left to this podcast, but apply it to the cornerback position, right? Is that, how we talked about the matchups as far as the wide receiver combinations, let me say that, to where teams have really good number twos now, right? Like, I understand you don't want them against CeeDee Lamb, but would you want them against George Pickens, right? I understand you don't want them against Jamar Chase, but do you want them against T. Higgins? Right, you kind of get what I'm saying, and you have to kind of balance that out now, because so many teams have wide receiver twos to where you need a cornerback two that you feel really good about, and if not, that matchup is going to get exploited. So it's not even so much about the wide receiver one and him not being a CB1. It's about the wide receiver twos, and can this guy be your cornerback two too? So I think that's where the conversation is going to fall for D'Angelo Pons. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parsley. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. Like we like to say, man, y'all can talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's show, guys, we're going to bring up and we're going to do our own midweek mock draft. I'll make the picks, Keith will make the picks, and we're going to pick the best players for your team. So do not be mad when this mock draft drops on tomorrow's show. So come join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.